Welcome to Comic Book Wednesdays, a weekly series where we talk about comic books. We're your hosts. I'm Ian.
I'm Al.
And I'm Shane.
Welcome back, and if you're new and if you enjoy our content, please remember, like, comment, subscribe. Alright, so we're reading some Avengers books this week. Jonathan Hickman is the author, as we're slowly making our way to Secret Wars. Why don't you start us off, Shane, with your initial thoughts?
I gotta say, Hickman's writing style is really growing on me. He's got a very unique approach to certain characters, and I really love that. I I really liked how this was a nice slice of life with Hyperion. It was very wholesome, and I'm not used to seeing that, so that was really nice change up.
It is a nice change up. I think I said this right before we were recording. I was I was getting that slice of life vibe as well. It was very different from what we were kind of used to, and they almost felt like filler. But I just knowing how he's been writing these books, I don't want to say that they're filler, just because all these characters are important to this story in some way.
Mm-hmm. I mean, to be honest with you, I had that thought too up until we got to our last issue, and I was like, oh.
Yeah, it kind of made sense. What about you, Al? Initial thoughts on the books?
I liked them. I thought they were good. I liked the Hyperion one more than the second issue, which was the
Starbrand.
Sorry, I forgot his name for a minute. I just enjoyed the story more, I think. I don't think I care for these books as much as I cared for the Avengers books. There's something about the Avengers books I like them better, I think. But they were good.
These are the
new Avengers. I'm sorry, the new Avengers.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're good.
But yeah, the Hyperion issue was really nice. It gave a nice insight into him, and at the end, I really enjoyed his relationship with Thor.
True, yeah. Going all the way to the last issue at 35 there. The Hyperion's an interesting character to me because, one, I always forget while we're reading that he is from a different Earth. Like, he is a victim of an incursion, in a way. I don't know, that just always escapes me. So when we get that shown to us, it's a nice reminder. Also, it kind of ties in the overall story. But the parallels to Superman are what interests me with this character, because there are also aspects to him where I'm like, he's just a little off. Like, there is something wrong with his brain where I'm like, he's not the perfect Superman. Do you guys get what I'm saying there?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I'm glad you brought that up, because the connections with him being Superman, it's almost as if, in this instance, Superman was landed when he was older, but then didn't have a lot of human interactions, and his ship was essentially like, okay, go. And so he's kind of having to piece together everything by himself.
Right, exactly. He has...
Which makes me like him more.
Is he more relatable? Is that... where he's just not this super all-powerful god character? He's more human?
I don't necessarily want to say it's more human. I think it's... well, no, technically, yes. He is more relatable and therefore more human. One of the reasons that I like him isn't so much for that, but to just... you have a lot of these super-powered beings between Marvel and DC who are thrown into situations where they have to learn and adjust. And a lot of those situations, I see it as the learning adjusting period is just fighting, whatever bad guy it is that specific time.
Mm-hmm.
But in instances like this, it's not necessarily a bad guy, but how the character's morality and moral compass and their code works. So
Well, and I
getting to
think
understand them more.
Hyperion gets kind of a bad rap too because in some of his stories, he's written as a villain, isn't he?
He he has a weird way, so like of seeing things. So he's like a lot of times he's kind of controlled his planet through like an iron fist almost. Like he's still protecting people, but he's a little bit more assertive with it.
But I feel like the the Hyperion we're getting from Hickman,
Isn't
I
that?
don't know necessarily has that mindset. At least from like the what we experienced from his flashbacks with his father. You know what I mean?
I
Like
don't
it
get
doesn't
that.
seem.
Right. I don't get that vibe. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, yeah, exactly. Like he doesn't have that same feeling to me that I think he gets sometimes. You know?
Yeah. No, I understand that. I with his character, at least in this rendition, I'm getting the feeling that he was ripped from his Earth at a younger age than he was in other storylines where he's developed more. Does that make sense? Because like he's kind of now like with the Avengers, and he has a bit of more of a moral compass than he
Yeah.
normally would have. But even reading this book, there's a moment where he's facing the Mauler, who is the B villain in this issue, who's kidnapped a kid, and there is a scene that flashes into his mind, and he's like, I'm gonna kill this guy, like I want to basically like rip his head off. And you kind of see that internal thought play out on the page, and then it goes back to normal, and you're like, oh, okay, that didn't actually happen, you know.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I can see that, but he definitely, like I said, he definitely has a little bit more of a moral compass than.
What he normally would.
Yeah. And
I
I
was
think
surprised
that's
about that.
part to Hickman. You know, like I think Hickman definitely is writing him different than what we normally get.
Right.
Mhm.
Um, you were saying something. You were surprised at that chain, or do you want to
Yeah,
elaborate?
I honestly thought like his moral compass, for lack of a better term, has always been in the weird like greater good sort of gray. And so with this B villain, I honestly thought he was just going to kill him. And so when that, when the scene when the officers pulled his gun and was just like, you don't know what to do with these types, and he's trying to just maintain this calm presence. I feel like that sort of set the tone for the way that everything was like kind of foreshadowing the way that everything was going to go. Because when the B moving, like the B villain entered, I thought he was just going to kill him. So when that scene came up of like what he was potentially thinking about doing, I just thought that was it, and I was like, okay, well, there goes the bad guy.
Yeah.
I mean, there was
But
definitely a moment I thought he was just gonna like rip the guy out of the truck and rip his head off, but I definitely think they brought him a softer side, you know, and a more enjoyable side, honestly.
yeah,
Yeah, it's more complex, and it makes you think about him more rather than just um, you get this like kind of like off-putting murderous Superman. Like, it's more than that, which is nice. Um, I had another point that I was going to say, and I forget it now. I apologize.
you may just start saying random words to bring it back to you.
No. Oh, I was gonna say like I like the fact that like not only is he like not this murderous iron fist type character, he's trying to bring the whole world into his family and protect them as if everybody was his family. And I wonder if that's because of his interaction with the children creature things from the Savage Lands
Well, I
that
think
we.
they kind of
Ooh,
touched on that. Like I for, there was a point in the comic where he said, "I know what it's like to have my children threatened."
and he considers them his children, right?
Yeah.
That's what we're getting. Okay.
Damn,
yeah.
I didn't even think of that. That's a great point.
Yeah. So like Hickman has really developed this character more because I don't know if before this point Hyperion was this diverse. Like I feel like he was very like a 1-2 punch, type, no pun intended, type of character.
I like that he can use his vision to get down to a molecular level, and like the the one slide that I saved was him talking to the parents of the kid that was kidnapped, and he's like, "Oh, there's a piece of dead skin cells that don't match your DNA."
Right.
You know, and it was a pretty cool interaction. I thought I didn't realize he had that depth of view. You know.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
that was wild.
in that sense, he's very much a Superman clone.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then he being able to use that ability from space as well, that's pretty cool.
He's definitely a much cooler character than I originally thought.
Right. I'm looking forward to the day we can see him in the MCU. Hopefully soon, because I really like to see him on the big screen.
The problem with that is I feel like we have so many of those characters, at least from the DC side, like with Shazam and Superman and Black Adam. Like we've gotten a couple of those characters going on the big screen that I think Marvel would almost want to hold off a little bit with that.
You're probably right. They probably would want to hold off on that. So time will tell. I don't know.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
I heard rumors that the Squadron Supreme was going to be in Loki, so that'd be. I don't know if that's going to be true, but
I wonder who's going to play him.
Yeah, I don't know. Also, there's a good chance that they do Sentry rather than Hyperion. Sentry is another Superman clone. I think he's stronger actually than Hyperion.
Oh wow.
So, yeah.
He was more of a good guy character than Hyperion original writing, right?
Hyperion has some mental issues, so like that's hard. I'm pretty sure he's got like a split personality where like he can go either way.
I know what that means. Merlin trial.
So Hyperion versus Sentry, as far as morality goes, they're both very tricky.
Okay.
You know.
Mm-hmm.
But that's good writing sometimes. You know, when you have these like moral ambiguity and like some like gray zone. You know, you don't never know what you're gonna get. So, be curious to see where things go with Hyperion. Now, any other final thoughts on that issue before we kind of move forward a little?
I think that about summed it up.
Yeah, I'm pretty good on that issue.
Definitely. The next one I didn't love.
It was definitely my least favorite of the three we read.
Yeah. It's not necessarily a bad book. I don't really get the whole Starbrand character. Now he's new and like I think he's a Hickman creation. Like we saw him being made in Hickman's book, so I don't think there was anybody before him that was Starbrand.
He's just kind of bland to me.
And they portrayed him very arrogant in this story.
I always get that arrogant story or arrogant side. Like I never like who he is. I don't know. And like he's supposed to be Earth's protector, and I thought he had that understood. And then he's off in space fucking around. Like, come on, dude, stop making triangles. Go back to Earth.
Yeah, not a great issue, in my opinion.
No. And then like the whole like cosmic radiation, like having to protect the small town in the south.
I mean, I feel like Spider-Woman had a bigger point or bigger play in that issue than he did.
Yeah, kind of in a way. I don't know. I don't agree or disagree with you on it just because I'm so like meh on that issue. Like it's hard for me to come with a strong point and like
Mhm.
even play devil's advocate.
Was the cosmic entity thing? Let me see if I can pronounce his name. Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to attempt that. Is that the first time that thing has showed up that you guys are aware of?
That I know of, and by the way, I just call it kobold. So like I just picture the thing as a little like lizard thing from Dungeons and Dragons.
Great, space lizard. I'm all for it.
Yeah, even though he's like a giant cockroach thing. Yeah, I have no clue if the. It seems like it's just this thing that Hickman wrote for this book. I'll do a little research on it and get back to you on that in a little.
Okay,
Probably either we'll talk about it next week or we'll like just kind of go over it off the line.
that
Yeah,
sounds
no,
fair.
I don't know, and I'm going to talk about this a little bit with the last issue, but I kind of felt like the whole issue was pointless. The whole point of that issue to me was to get him to be happy and to come to Earth and kind of accept his mission a bit, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not even the next issue. Yes, there's a time skip, and we'll get to that. But he's off in space fucking around with Night Mask. Night Mask? Is that his name? Yes.
Yeah.
Night
Yep.
Mask. And he still says, like, oh, you gotta come back to Earth, kid. Like, and he's like, oh, alright, I guess. It's like, what? Did you just, like, retcon the last issue? Like, I know
Yeah,
8
because
months
like if
have
the
passed, but. Sorry, go ahead.
no, just to add to that, if the whole point was to us to get to see his like humanity, sense of duty, sense of justice, and all that, I completely agree with you. It kind of like defeated the purpose of the issue.
Right. It's exactly what I was feeling. It was kind of moot. It was a cow's opinion.
This place has seen better
Moo.
days.
No?
Moo.
Friends? Nobody?
I like
Okay.
that.
I was distracted.
You're good. You're good.
It's been years since I've seen it. I thought you were just making a pun.
No, he goes. I think the line he goes. It's a cow's opinion. It's moo. It doesn't matter. Instead
Oh
of
my
moot.
God.
Yeah. But yeah, no. So I kind of want to move on because I feel like I'm beating this issue over the head. The issue of Avengers number 35 did something that I wasn't expecting it to do. As we alluded
Hmm.
to just a couple minutes ago, it time skipped 8 months,
Yeah.
and I want to say I was really confused.
Yeah.
Tell me I wasn't the only one.
No, I definitely was confused at the beginning of that issue. I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
Also, only 8 months' time for them to look that much older?
I mean, if you don't shave for 8 months, you're gonna have a pretty hefty beard.
Yeah, but I mean, he looks like visibly older too than just beard.
Who, Thor or Hyperion?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Fair. And I mean, there's a lot of stressful things going on. The world, end of the world, fighting your friends, type of stuff. I'm just saying. All right. So the way I kind of like broke down this issue as far as notes go is I kind of wrote down almost like heroes in the order that they've shown up in the book, just kind of giving us a because this was a very like catch up. Where are the people now after 8 months? Um, but to start, I actually have to say, did you guys look at the cover of this book?
Not in depth.
Yeah.
Okay. Then I'm going to focus this question on you, Shane.
Okay.
What did you notice? What was different on the cover
I'm
of the
look.
book?
I'm
You can
looking
look
at it
at it.
right now, and Okay, so just for first thoughts, we have Falcon, we have Hulk, we have Thor, Iron Man, and then an old man, which I'm not sure if that's supposed to be Clint or someone else. That kind of threw me off a little bit.
Okay, I want you to look at Falcon more.
Okay. Oh shit. He's got the shield.
He's not Falcon. He's Captain
Yeah,
America.
he's Captain America.
So when I looked at the issue, and I did this, I did a double take because the first time around I didn't look at it just like kind of like Al did. I kind of just like opened the book and went forward.
Mm-hmm.
You texted me, you're like, oh, I don't quite get, like why they did the time skip, and I was like, yeah, like it's an interesting choice, blah blah blah. And then I was reviewing it today and I was kind of looking at it, and they did the time skip because there was a lot of status quo changes in Marvel Comics at this point. I mean, we saw Thor become unworthy. You see him on the cover with the axe. One thing we didn't see happen was the event Axis, where Iron Man becomes Superior Iron Man. So if you look at the front of that cover, you see Iron Man in like the silver with this circlet, and he's not in his traditional armor. And that's very much because he is Superior Iron Man at this point, where his morality has changed. I wouldn't say he's evil, but he's more evil than he would be normally.
Like a little more unhinged.
Um, in a very smart, clever type of way.
Okay.
Is the old man Steve Rogers?
The old man
Steve Rogers?
is Steve Rogers, yes. So, Red Skull uses. I'm pretty sure it's Red Skull's fault. It's either that or somebody takes the super serum away from him. Um, but essentially, what happens is he gets turned. Oh no, I have it backwards. So he loses his super soldier serum. It's not Red Skull's fault. Red Skull has a hand in getting him to turn back to normal, which then in turn follows up with the Hail Hydra storyline that you love so much, Al.
Yeah, not so much.
So that has to do with that. So they're like kind of working their way towards that at this point. Um, so yeah, there's a huge status quo change, mainly to do with the big three, right? Because at this point you have Sam, Cap, you have Superior Iron Man, who is kind of he's a dick, more so than he usually is, and you have honestly Mighty Thor. Jane Foster is around there somewhere as well, because at this point Thor is unworthy.
So are these all other books that you've read, or is this just like stuff that you know?
I know I haven't read them all. Some of it's internet stuff that I've seen, and other things that I've read. I've never read Axis. It's on my list, but I know like what it does because YouTube.
Right.
But yeah, as I was saying before, I kind of like wrote this book out as far as like characters and where they show up and who we get introduced to after the 8 months, and we start actually with Ex Nihil and Abyss. We haven't seen those people in a while.
Likely this astronomy table will be best used when
And they were kind of like seeing like the stars, and stars were being destroyed and all that kind of shit. And they're realizing that like something's going on at Earth, and they have to come back to Earth. So that was real quick. And then they jump to our first set of Avengers, and I thought it was really interesting where they put these characters. So we see Cannonball, Sunspot, Manifold, and Smasher. Do you guys have any thoughts on where these characters are at this point? Because there's something surprising. I know they're side characters, but it was still kind of interesting to me.
Yeah, Cannonball's got a kid.
With
Smasher.
with
Yeah.
Smasher, yeah. So that was surprising because I didn't even see like anything romantic happening there. It was kind of just out of.
There was one thing in one of the issues when they were in space, like
Oh yeah, well, they had that
20
moment.
issues ago, where they had like a little romantic moment for like one square, and that was it that I
I
remember.
totally missed it. To be honest. Um, okay, so they have a kid.
Which is interesting.
Yeah, and then we learned Sunspot has purchased AIM, so that's interesting.
Yeah, that the reaction that he gave of like, you working with AIM, and he's just like, well, AIM is not that bad once you remove all the evil scientists.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that'll do it.
seriously. Oh my god. Manifold didn't really have any interesting things happening. He was just kind of like there.
He was just Sunspot's transportation, honestly.
Yeah, exactly. And it was interesting to kind of like see like why are these people? I guess they're on like the Guardians planets, whatever they're called. God, their name escapes me at the moment. But they whatever group that Izzy is part
Yeah,
of.
I know what you're talking about. I can't think of it either.
But yeah, no, it was interesting to see that the reason they went and left there was because of the division with Iron Man. They were like either they didn't want a part of it or they didn't like what the Avengers were becoming. I guess like kind of like a pawn of Shield almost, which was interesting to say the least. Like I'm really want to see like what happens further from here. Shane, you have something you're gonna say? I'm sorry, I feel like I'm cutting you off.
No, it's quite all right. I was just thinking, like, in terms of the comic book itself, it was probably the right move, especially to, like, he makes a comment about this in the issue where he's just like, yeah, no, we're here because, raising a family. And I'm like, I wouldn't want to be around Iron Man and his mess right now either if I had a kid.
No.
Right. Yeah, me either. Not at all. Not at all. I don't. I get the vibe though, like the Avengers don't all agree with Cap's vendetta. Like certain ones do, like the big names, but not all of them. And it's interesting to see like where kind of things are at this point. Um, the next set of heroes they show are Nightmask and Starbrand, who are actually fighting some Alfs, which we haven't seen either in a while, and they kind of comment on that like these Alfs come from another like another universe. But that gets to the point where I was complaining about earlier. Like, I just don't understand why Starbrand isn't on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know. Oh,
I'm not gonna lie, I was falling asleep a little bit while I was reading this episode, or this issue.
really? I really like
Just
this.
not doing it for you.
Not because of the issue, just because I was overtired.
Ah.
But,
That's fair.
so there's stuff I kind of missed, and I missed that whole alpha thing.
That's fine. That's why we all also why we talk about it. So
Yeah.
because there are things we're gonna miss. You're leaning a little bit earlier into Al about the Hyperion Thor stuff. Why don't you take us through that?
So I really got a sense of, Hyperion feels at home now, and Thor being, I guess, an older brother type of figure to him.
I could
And
see
I
that.
thought that was like an interesting kind of take on Hyperion's development.
I mean, he does make an interesting point. They are both, like, cosmic beings, and the only ones that have really dealt with some high-level things in terms of, space, I guess.
Yeah.
I can see the kindred moments.
I get that. I
It
agree
was a
with that.
nice ending to the episode, or to the issue, and, seeing a different point from both characters. Because, Thor is all broody, standing on the mountaintop there, and Hyperion's like All right, let's have a drink and relax a little bit.
Well, you did you fall asleep for reals? Because that wasn't the end of it.
I might have. I might not have finished it.
No, it got heavy.
It got heavy real quick. So I mean, I agree with you. There's an interesting part there. I love to see their relationship. Thor to me is going through some shit though. Like you really see like the weight on him. Like they did a good job just drawing that. Standing there on that cliff's face.
Hold on, I'm running. Yeah, I missed a lot. I apologize.
You're good, bro. So.
Oh, well, then we had the whole. You know what? I woke up and read some of the. What the hell's his name? Cho. Amadeus Cho stuff.
Amadeus Cho, yeah.
I do remember
that. So they're building a machine. They haven't really gone into what the machine is for, but like they're making it sound like they're gonna go through like a breach or something like that. And it's gonna be like a Hyperion and Thor adventure, which I'm all here for. Like I can't wait to see that issue. That's gonna be really neat. But like to talk, but that's really all they show with that. So we're kind of talking about the Amadeus Cho stuff now. So like they kind of show us what Avengers Tower is now. It's like a Shield headquarters, which I'm getting like dystopian vibes. I don't know if you guys get those same vibes, but that was kind of what I was feeling.
Yeah, I do remember this now slightly. War Machine kind of just being like a Sentinel type of creature or character.
I don't see I'm glad you brought that up because I'm not sure if it's War Machine. So like.
Yeah, but there's like 3 of them at the end of the issue there.
Right, that's why I'm not sure if it's War Machine, or if it's just a drone.
Well,
maybe it's both.
A little bit trying to remember, but I'm pretty sure at one point they call out him being War Machine.
I don't recall. I just remember seeing 3.
Okay, yeah, it is a drone. Communication interrupted, War Machine drone, AI offline.
Oh, okay, so it is a drone, and there's multiple. Interesting. And I think the big takeaway from this issue is not only has the Avengers evolved into something different, but it seems like the Illuminati has not only become public enemy #1, but they have evolved and earned more members into their ranks. How and when that happened, I'm not sure. I'm sure we'll find out.
Yeah, kind of a random character, Captain Britain.
Yeah, Captain Britain is totally a random character. Surprised the hell out of me. They show Superior Iron Man in all his glory, the silver suit. Got Hulk, another random character, Hank Pym Yellow Jacket, not even Ant-Man.
Right.
Which, he's always more unhinged when he's the Yellow Jacket persona. So that's interesting. We talked about Captain Britain, Beast, Black Panther, Black Bolt, Doctor Strange, and then Reed Richards, of course. And then we get the big reveal at the end that the person kind of leading the manhunt is Sue Storm in a weird shieldy helmet thing. So where do you think we're going from here, guys?
I have a theory.
Let's hear it.
So, Cap has this vendetta against Tony. Right. But it was really all of the members of the Illuminati that really have been doing everything. Like, they're all equally to blame.
Totally.
And so what I honestly think is I think Reed, he has a family. I honestly think if they were going to go for this, not saying that they will, but out of everybody that it could get to, it would be potentially him. I don't think that he's necessarily in hiding for shame or any reason. I think there's some super intelligent reason that he's in hiding. He's got a plan, same as Tony. They just are not ready to, let in on what's going on, because that's why they have new members of the Illuminati. As to what that plan is, I think they're just diverting resources to potentially go after either the stuff with Namor, because they probably found out about that, or God knows what. But as for why Sue and Reed are no longer on the same team, I have no idea.
Yeah, but Sue and Reed have had their issues before. Wasn't there a comic where Sue was kind of smashing on Namor?
Oh, really?
They always had a weird relationship. I don't know if they've ever did anything together, but there was a whole era of Fantastic Four comics where Sue was evil. She had an alternate personality type thing, so maybe that's what you're thinking of, Al.
It might be.
God. Guys, I'm full of useless information.
It's not useless info. It gives us context for the comic illiterate of the group here.
Becoming less and less comic illiterate every week.
Damn right.
It's going to be interesting to see where we go. I think Sue's really just trying to find her husband. She realizes that, he has some type of reason. He's a smart person. However, she's very much of the mind where, I'm not going to put up with Reed's bullshit. Cut the shit, Reed. Let's make sense of this. I honestly think that Reed, Iron Man, all of them, they're not hiding from the law because they feel like they've done something wrong. They're hiding because they feel like if they don't, they're not going to save the world. And they're the only ones willing to do what it takes to save the universe. Everybody else is just going to, put them down, and stop them. But remember what Franklin told Cap, the world ends because he tries to stop them. So, and I think I'm gonna end it on there. Any further thoughts before we get on to the next?
No, that's pretty much it.
All right.
Yeah, that kind of wraps it up good.
Okay. So next week we are reading New Avengers 24, Avengers 36, and New Avengers 25. So we're going back to alternating. So I think the books are going to start coinciding with each other pretty well. At least that's the vibe I'm getting with the banner that's going across the books now. Time runs out in 8 months is what it said.
Dun dun dun.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for listening. Again, if you're enjoying, subscribe, comment, interact with us. Again, I'm Ian.
I'm Al.
And I'm Shane.
You're Al.
Wow!
And this was Comic Book Wednesdays. Good night, everybody.
Holy shit!